Я представляю себя в военной компании. Наверное, слышали, ЧВК «Вагнер» называется.
This is one of Russia's most powerful men, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in a Russian prison, recruiting convicts to fight in Ukraine.
Я вас живыми забираю. Но не всегда живыми возвращаю.
Until now, one of Putin's most trusted allies.
Prigozhin is not well liked by the elites. He's thought of as nekulturny, meaning uncultured, sort of a peasant or a servant of some sort.
The warlord who launched Russia's uprising, a former convict and hot dog vendor, notorious for his ruthlessness and brutality.
You have his shift from hot dog seller to caterer to the army, massive contract.
He would become known as Putin's chef.
And at some point, he then moved closer to the armed forces.
In 2014, Prigozhin founded the Wagner Group, a vicious private army, at least 25,000 strong. But until recently, it was a secret operation.
They serve multiple purposes for the Russian government, but chief among them is to divert attention from activities that the Russian government, and the Kremlin in particular, doesn't want the world to pay attention to.
First used in Russia's invasion of Crimea, the Wagner Group began popping up elsewhere in countries that are fragile or experiencing conflict. Touted as Putin's private army,
Prigozhin's operations around the world allow Putin to exert influence at arm's length.
all these countries have seen Wagner boots on the ground.
They threaten stability, they undermine good governance, they rob countries of mineral wealth, they violate human rights.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, Wagner stepped out of the shadows to help. But as the war has dragged on, Prigozhin has become fiercely critical of Russia's military leadership.
У нас нехватка боеприпасов 70%. Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы?
Now, Putin's greatest weapon has become his greatest threat. Both men's futures in doubt after the dramatic, albeit short-lived, uprising. So, could this billionaire warlord's show of might prove to be the undoing of both of them?
I'm curious as to what the implications for something like this are on the West, and whether the United States is rubbing its hands in glee, or is it kind of just waiting to see what happens? What do you think?
I think it's a really interesting set of calculations, actually, for the rest of the world to be making right now. Because, of course, since the Ukraine war, Putin's really been persona non grata, right? This is a question about when will it end, how will it end, will he ever leave? Now, what the world is faced with in this instance is, would it prefer Putin to stay weakened, or would it prefer someone like Prigozhin to take control? I think it was laid out really clearly there. This guy is crazy. Do you really want this person in charge of Russia and Russia's nuclear arsenal? Because that's what is at stake here. And so I think for the time being, it probably suits the West quite a lot, and Ukraine, to have Russia led by a somewhat weakened Putin. There's danger in that too, because he might need to, or feel the need to show his strength and do something pretty wild. But equally, he's going to be faced with trying to contain everything within his own domain right now.
It seems like a case of better the devil, you know.
Yeah.
At least Putin is a known entity. At least they know how to deal with him.
Absolutely. And, you know, devil is an appropriate word in this moment. I mean, Prigozhin clearly is a brutal operator. The Wagner Group's operated in all sorts of countries, places like Sudan recently, Syria a few years ago. But, you know, I know we're calling them a mercenary army. A gun for hire, effectively, is what a mercenary fighter is. There's no record that we know of them having any other client other than the Russian state and Vladimir Putin. So it's very difficult to decouple what this fighting force of 25,000 is from Putin. And it's going to continue having a role in Ukraine too. So it may be over or paused for the moment, but this is not over.